Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Wednesday night from Buford, Georgia. We're happy to have you here for another episode of the Primetime Show. We had an interesting conversation with young Cameron Ward. I noticed that Tehran started putting out, by the way, his full name, his government name, Cameron Ward, because apparently that's what his parents would prefer that we all refer to him to. So I guess I'm going to probably make that pivot. At some point, Cam Ward just rolls off the tongue a little easier, but whether you call him Cam, whether you call him Cameron, he was asked an interesting question today about how he is looking to break a concerning rookie quarterback trend. If you go through the last couple of years of number one overall picks at quarterback, in the last few years, and I know that this does not necessarily have to impact the Titans, but it could impact the Titans. The concerning trend is that the head coach that is there when the quarterback gets drafted, more often than not, doesn't make it to a second year with the quarterback. And it's not just the most recent with Caleb Williams and Matt Eberflus. So we're going to talk about how Cameron Ward responded to this today when asked this question at the press conference today, because the Titans have issues and there's reason to believe that their record may not be great moving forward into 2025, and it's reasonable also to believe that firing Brian Callahan after a less than stellar season may make some of you happy, but may also not be in the best interest of Cameron Ward that way, and that the continuity, the chemistry, the ability to continue to have that consistency year over year in scheme and just generally with a play caller may benefit him long term, even if it's not, at least I almost want to say in the short term, because another season is what I mean at the least. And if you give him 2 seasons and it doesn't go to plan, then okay, then you make moves if you feel like there's another direction that he might benefit from. But I don't think that upsetting the apple cart the way that you've seen bad organizations like the Bears or the Panthers or the Jaguars do in the last couple of years with number one overall picks and the coaches that are on staff when they are drafted through those organizations, I don't think that's necessarily a good idea. And Cameron, that'll take me some time to get used to, Cameron Ward was asked that question earlier today. So we'll get into that, and we'll have more time to talk about the joint camp practices tomorrow on the radio show. I'll be there for all 3 hours tomorrow. We're also doing Fox Sports Radio. I'm Doug Gottlieb tomorrow on Fox Sports Radio, filling in for Doug, and also going to be doing Brady Quinn and LeVar Arrington show in the morning on Friday morning before radio. So we'll do Doug Gottlieb show nationally after the local show tomorrow, and then 2 pros and a cup of Joe on Fox Sports Radio before the local show on Friday, and then we'll have the preseason game. But I do think this is a fascinating topic. I'd be curious to know your guys' feedback on it, how you view the combination of Brian Callahan and Cameron Ward, and how far you think Callahan is able to take Ward, even if we don't have anything but the most immediate returns. The last 2 months, 3 months, I guess it's been longer since April, but the last few months of this thing where you're looking around and trying to figure out, all right, what's going to make Cameron Ward the most successful? And is Brian Callahan a part of the long-term or even just the short-term solution moving forward? So we'll get into that tonight. Share the broadcast around Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Chris Frazier knows the routine. Share the broadcast. If you're hanging out with us on Twitter, please retweet the show in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you are on YouTube or Twitch, you can do that. You can like the video. You can subscribe to the channel. You can tell a friend to do the same. And we would be grateful for your participation that way. And if you are somebody who is just, in the interest of sharing the broadcast around and wants more Titans fan participation, text the link to a friend, and we would be grateful to you that way as well. Ann Herndon makes a good comment right out of the gate. She says, I care more about Bill Callahan clearly improving an offensive line for Cameron Ward. That is, that's also a part of the equation, because you don't just fire Brian. You fire his dad too. I'm assuming that Bill Callahan would not be interested in staying on staff if the Titans decide, yeah, your son's not good enough to be the head coach here, but we'd really, really like you to stay, Bill, if you're willing to do so. That is the risk that you run when you allow a situation or when you promote a situation like Bill and Brian Callahan. They're a joint package here, and that offensive line, that continuity also matters for them a great deal. Jeffrey Mullins says of the situation, if you cannot score points this year, BC and Holtz are out. But again, you're not just firing those. There are two BCs. There's Bill and there's Brian, and I'm less concerned about Holtz and Brian than I am about Bill if I'm you guys, given the offensive line and the progress that they seem to be making as well. So something to keep in mind. So we've just to put a bow on the joint camp practices for the primetime purpose, even though that's not really what we're going to talk about tonight. They they didn't have a great day by any stretch of imagination. They had a better day today against the Falcons. Falcons and Bucks are a better team than the Titans are. I don't think I'm shocking any of you by telling you that. And I do think that I think that it's good opportunities for them. And I do think on the whole that it is a good measuring stick opportunity to say, okay, here's what it looks like to be somebody who's actually contending for a playoff spot or a wild card spot. And here's how we look against teams that are in that category. Atlanta's not a great team. Tampa Bay is a better team. Both of them are in a poor division, a division that's comparable to you. I would say that the AFC South is probably worse than the NFC South right now, but it's a good test for you to be like, all right, we're trying to get incrementally better. Those teams are better than we are. How do we get to the place that they're at? And the answer is probably talent, right? But there are things that can be taken away from it. And I think that it's good opportunity each and every time you step out on that field. And the thing that I would reiterate to you, and I think I mentioned this again last night, and I probably said it on radio at some point in the last couple of days, is Cam Ward right now and the interceptions, for example, not the end of the world, not something that I'm overwhelmingly concerned about, because I'm assuming that a rookie quarterback is going to go out there, struggle, and throw picks. If Cameron Ward is still making these mistakes in a year from now, okay, then we have issues that are worth discussing because he's the number one overall pick and you need better than a guy that looks clearly and obviously like he's a rookie in that circumstance. So that's where I'm at with like the day-to-day evaluation. I'm not really concerned about this year on the whole for him. I'm just concerned about how they support him. And I think I've said that to you a number of times, but I think it's good to reiterate those kind of things right now. So from joint camp, because now joint camp's over, preseason game on Friday, we'll have an off day tomorrow. I mean, we'll do radio, as I mentioned, from Atlanta tomorrow and Friday, and then the preseason game will be Friday, and we'll look to see what comes of that. Right now, the plan is to play Cameron and the starters 2 series on the offensive side of the ball. Defensive side of the ball sounds like it's going to be the same thing. Guys who didn't play in Tampa probably aren't going to play here in Atlanta, and I wouldn't imagine that the starters on defense get more than one series either. Curator says, Buck, you got to try American Deli wings before you leave Atlanta. See, I'm so partial to the Magic City wings, and it's not just because of the view. I genuinely love. I think the Lou Will special is as good a wing combo offer as could be had. But I will definitely try American Deli because I haven't had wings since I've been down here, and I've been craving them. And I guess I could go to the strip club just to get wings, or not just to get wings, but. I'm looking for wing options tonight, as a matter of fact. So I will certainly keep that in mind. I appreciate the recommendation. So as we talk about the progression of Cameron Ward, and as we talk about the different things that are here to support him, you cannot have these conversations. You cannot have these conversations without talking about Brian Callahan's circumstance in the middle of all of this, because he's kind of up in the air and constantly being evaluated. And as you guys evaluate your quarterback, the organization is evaluating Brian Callahan with each day's practice, with each mental miscue, with each lack of development or positive development, right? Positive and negative stuff comes in a great deal here. Dion Bonner says Cam and the offense need to play a whole half. I don't that they're not going to do that. I don't know what to tell you, but you are welcome to that opinion. I mean, you're more than welcome to that opinion. But think about this, Dion. It's first and foremost, like, I don't think that you should do it by all right, they need to play a whole quarter or a whole half, because how many? If I'll quiz you real quick, how many offensive series did the Titans get in the first quarter in Tampa Bay? The answer is one. They ran 3 offensive plays. So by the time you get to the second quarter, so if you said, okay, we're going to give the starters a quarter. Well, that game played out in a way that you only got 1 series, a 3 and out. Are you going to take them off the field after 3 and out? No, probably not. Now, do you want, so if you're arguing, then you're arguing for more series for them. And I understand that argument, but that's not the way that they're going to go about it. So, right, wrong, or indifferent, we'll see what that looks like. They're satisfied with the work that they're getting in joint camp, and I don't think they value, I don't think most teams value the NFL preseason games as much as they do the joint training camp practices. And God knows they've gotten their money's worth with 10 days on the road in these joint training camp practices. So 2 series is what he is going to get. You can agree or disagree with that, but that's what's going to happen. So I don't think there's any point in belaboring that. Now, if they look like shit after the 2 series and you say, okay, you send them out there for a third and they don't, then we can debate that on Monday. But like right now, it's a bunch of hemming and hawing about something that's not going to happen. They're only going to play 2 series. So that's not the trend, though, that we're talking about here. Quarterbacks who have been drafted number 1 overall in the last couple of years. So we go back through the list of number 1 overall picks at quarterback and the things that they have surrounding them. So you have, let's just take it back to the last time the Titans had a top 2 pick, which was Marcus Mariota in 2015. So you have then Jameis Winston, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Bryce Young, Caleb Williams, Cameron Ward. So that's, since in the last 10 years, 9 picks at the quarterback position at number 1 overall. I guess it's technically the last 11 years. The last 11 years, the last 11 drafts, including the most recent draft. So 9 picks at quarterback, number 1 overall quarterbacks in the last couple of years. Trayvon Walker with the Jags, he was a number 1 overall pick in 2022. And you have Myles Garrett back in 2017. Those are the only 2 non-quarterbacks since then. So you have a situation where Jameis, Goff, Mayfield, Murray, Burrow doesn't count here, Lawrence, and Williams. So 6 of those 9 quarterbacks drafted number 1 overall, 6 of them saw their coaches that drafted them get fired at some point in time. And in the case of a lot of these guys, Lawrence, Williams, Kyler Murray made it more than 1 year with Cliff Kingsbury. Goff is also on that list with Jeff Fisher. Jeff got fired in season, right? The year that they drafted Jared Goff, number 1 overall. There is a somewhat of a trend, not a year by year trend exactly, but there is somewhat of a trend of coaches who draft number 1 overall picks at quarterbacks coming off bad seasons. A lot of them aren't making it to their second season with this quarterback. That is a fascinating proposition to look at Brian Callahan through. Bryce Young was drafted. Dave Canales, I'm pretty sure, was the coach that drafted Bryce Young, if I'm not mistaken, because this is only going to be Canales's. No, I guess, who was the coach in Carolina before Dave Canales? Because I think Dave Canales was only there last year. Who was the Panthers coach? And Panthers coach, is that, surely that's not Matt Rule. 2023. Oh my God, it was Frank Reich. So Frank Reich also did. I completely forgot about the Frank Reich tenure because he got fired in the middle of that season. That's right. So it was Rule, then Reich, now Canales. Canales got there last year. That was his first year. So Frank Reich and Bryce Young also on that list. That's so another one to that trend. Again, there is a theme here. Bad football teams run by bad organizations who don't give themselves or their players or their coaching staff the patience to at least get to a second year. How can that derail a rookie quarterback or an ascending quarterback, a second-year quarterback who, more than anything, needs continuity at the position? It's pretty crazy to think about. And it was a fantastic question today asked by Teron Davenport. I imagine he's working on a piece for that, or a piece about that at ESPN. Could Brian Callahan be the next one to get shit canned if this year doesn't result in a record that is satisfactory to ownership? I think there's plenty of reasons to believe that very much could be the case. And you know, for the flaws that Callahan has, and every coach has flaws, right? Mike Vrabel before him had flaws. Mike Mularkey before him had flaws. Those things are evident. The flaw lies with the organization that keeps churning and burning, not just the players, but the coaches, because that contributes to the quarterback churn and burn. And that does not give the quarterback that you drafted number one overall the best possible chance to succeed, even if you don't view that coach as a long-term solution. And, maybe it's not beyond 2 years, but I think Brian Callahan should at least get 2 years to work with Cameron Ward. That was a question that he was asked today. And the question for you, your Two Rivers Ford take, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, and I'll figure out exactly how I phrased it with Robert. How would you rate Brian Callahan as an NFL head coach? Do you think he's got promise? Are you already out on him? Are you just kind of throw your hands up in the air, wait and see type of situation? How would you rate Brian Callahan through one season as an NFL head coach? We'll talk about it together in the comment section. It's your Two Rivers Ford take, made possible by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. That is, of course, Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. They go above and beyond to make the car buying process fast, easy, and fun for you. Quality American-made Ford vehicles and award-winning customer service are on offer. Go to Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. Like I mentioned, they are responsible for getting me down here to Atlanta. They're responsible for getting me just about anywhere, to and from the airport, everything. So we don't do Southwest ads around here, but Southwest, or rather Two Rivers Ford, does as much heavy lifting on my travel as does Southwest, because at least Two Rivers Ford got to get me to the airport when we're traveling all over the place. Esco says, what scale? Yeah, I mean, 1 out of 32. I mean, I know he was ranked by some, I think it was CBS was the outlet that ranked him the worst coach in football coming into the season. Where would you have him? And you can include first year coaches in there. There's some guys that have been around before, even if it's a new opportunity. 1 through 32, I think is probably the scale that we should use right now. Or if you don't want to go that far in depth, you can do it on a scale of 1 to 10 if you want. If you want to give them a grade, honestly, I could take any number of them and make it work and kind of understand ballpark where you guys are at. But I understand that you want a little more specificity with that. So, and you can even give me a range. I see some of you on Twitch and YouTube giving me a range, 26 to 30, 28 to 32, I see, in a couple of different spots. Where would you rate Brian Callahan as an NFL head coach right now? Cameron Ward, it's going to take me a little bit to rewire my brain. Will Levis rewire my brain to make sure that I'm saying Cameron, because that's his preference, and that's totally fine. Cameron Ward was asked this question by Teron Davenport today at the press conference on the conclusion of 2 days of joint training camp practice against the Falcons.
He's going to put me in the best position to succeed. And that's what my quarterback coach, Coach Bo, and the OC, Coach Nick. I'm trying to play as long as I can for Tennessee with those three guys at the helm. Those guys, they continuously give me feedback, even when I don't want feedback, and they continuously get me better. When I ask questions, they answer every question to the little detail as much as I need it. So I'm blessed to have those three, in the same room with me. They push me to be great. I want to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and I just think the more that we continuously build our relationship, us three, Coach Callahan, continuously getting to know what I like on the field, when I like it on the field. Then me also being smart with the ball and gaining that trust every day from him to have those play calls, whether he wants to go deep or do quick game. I just think it's going to end up helping all three of us out in the long run.
You haven't had stability much throughout your college career, but if you could get it here in the league, how much would that really unlock your potential?
I think it'll unlock everything. You see it with the best quarterbacks out there. Tom Brady, he has stability. Lamar, he has stability. Pat, he has stability. And so I just think a lot of guys who have stability in the NFL can succeed, I wouldn't say at a faster rate, but can succeed long term. And I just think that's what we need in Tennessee. We haven't had that in a long time, but I think the guys we have right here, offensively and defensively, I think we got the stability to do it.
One last one. How much responsibility do you feel to be this stability? In this league, quarterback-driven league, number one picks, do you feel like you're the guy that kind of has to be the person to make that success happen? Is that a pressure you feel?
It's not really a pressure I feel, but I know Like, I have to be the stability. I'm the one who calls the play call every day, every time in the huddle. I'm who everybody looks at in the huddle, when we need explosive play, when we need motivation. And so, it comes with the territory. I want the territory of being an NFL quarterback. And I would just say, just on that part, is that we just got to continue to build each other up. I would say the best thing about our huddle is that whether we have a bad play or nothing, if I have a bad play, we always build each other up. And just from the stability standpoint, just me and Coach Callahan just continuously building our relationship like we've been doing since he drafted me. He's one of the best head coaches out there. And I want to be a reason why at the end of the year he can be one of the top five head coaches in the NFL.
All right, so that is Cameron Ward after today's practice, and I'm sure he believes that. I know the coaching staff is hoping that he's right. Right, it's not an easy situation that he's been placed in, but the beautiful thing about Cam Ward, anytime I hear him speak, you guys will of course relate to this too, and I have a different perspective than you all do, but I'm coming at it through a similar vein. Cam Ward is so detached from the baggage of shitty Titans football and bad Titans organizational stuff and poor decision making and fired head coaches and Will Levis interceptions. Like he speaks genuinely, and maybe that's because he hasn't had the life experience of what this organization and I'm not I hesitate to make it just about the Titans, but it is just about the Titans right now. There are plenty of other bad or poorly run organizations or organizations that make bad decisions, and even good organizations make bad decisions, right? Like the Eagles drafted Andre Dillard in the first round. There's good organizations that do dumb things from time to time. But Cameron Ward is so unburdened by the baggage of the last couple of years of Titans football that all of us, you guys as fans, me as media, players who have been on the roster, coaches who have been on the staff, that everybody else comes in with the baggage of years past, except for him, right? And you hope that he doesn't, that he can be the thing that helps alleviate some of that baggage or remove some of that baggage, as opposed to being just another casualty of the NFL meat grinder, right? That's kind of what it becomes. I find it super refreshing. I hope that he is good enough for his own sake and for everybody else's sake to kind of keep their heads up that way. Corey D. Jackson points it out. He's a breath of fresh air. Yeah, and that's what it's supposed to be. Now you have to make sure that he continues to be able to breathe, right? To be able to breathe that fresh air, or be the source of that fresh air, however you want to phrase it. And I don't know. It's a great question for you guys. How much you trust your organization to do the right thing by him? Because even if it goes poorly this year, and there's reason to expect that it wouldn't be the best, I don't know how much you trust your organization to get it right around him. And that's the thing that you have to, that's always going to live in the back of your mind as this is going forward. Can you trust them to do the right thing here? B-Birds on Twitch says, I don't trust them at all. And I think that's fine. Like, they have to earn back your trust, but it's unfortunate that they have to earn back your trust while having somebody's career, somebody's young career like Cameron Ward's situation hanging in the balance of all of this. It's not fair, but that's what it is. Corey adds, if they don't get this right, I will be broken. I mean, I'm sure you're not the only one. Devin says of the situation, whether successful NFL coach could you compare to Callahan personality-wise? So Mike McDaniel is quirky. I don't think him and Brian Callahan are alike. I think that there's a lot of, Frank Reich had success, but, how much of that was Andrew Luck? I think that's left up for debate. And then, obviously Frank Reich fell off pretty substantially, but Frank Reich also in the second iteration of his career went to work for a shitty organization. The Panthers are poorly run. Jibo says Josh McDaniel were a successful head coach, and also Josh McDaniel was a dick, like Josh, and is famously, respectfully. I don't know if I can say that. It's an internet show, so I can say that. But like, I hope I haven't offended any of you. There, those he's not. Brian Callahan is a very. I, I think Brian Callahan is a very caring and concerned coach and willing to share, like willing to help educate people on these things. I don't think him and Mike McDaniel are, I mean, I'm sure they share some characteristics that way, but there's also, a sternness that you see from time to time that's not like Mike Vrabel mother effing you up and down, but it's kind of like, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed, like disappointed dad type of stuff. Now, what the F are you doing with Will Levis was a different moment, and he obviously had a blow up there. So I think he does have that in his bag, and obviously that was a what the F moment. Elias says LaFleur. That's probably not a bad one. I think Frank Reich comes to mind. I think LaFleur, just as far as active head coaches, comes to mind. But I also think, I think Matt benefited from spending a year under Mike Vrabel. And it was Mike's first year as a head coach, but it also, if you're Matt LaFleur, you can learn how to not do things that didn't work for Mike Vrabel or that Mike Vrabel did poorly, right? He remember that LaFleur interviewed for the head coaching job here in 2018, and Vrabel ultimately got it, and then convinced somehow LaFleur to be his offensive coordinator before he went on to be an NFL head coach. I think that Matt's probably a pretty good comparison because he's not overwhelming. He's not overwhelming in his presence, but he definitely has some of the, or he's got some tendencies that you wouldn't necessarily associate with CEO type, or just the demeanor, how he presents, right? Like you don't look at LaFleur and say leader of men, but like I think Matt LaFleur's got his shit together on that front. So I think LaFleur's probably a good comparison. Esco says McVay. You shouldn't compare anybody to Sean McVay. Sean McVay was an NFL head coach at like 32, the age that I am right now, which is crazy. And he's been doing it for damn near 10 years at this point. So McVay is in a category unto himself. Like he's wonderkind type of stuff. And I believe that Brian Callahan's an intelligent football mind, but there's a difference between being an intelligent football mind and also being a good NFL head coach. Um, Corey points out, if you notice, LaFleur's teams don't do dumb shit to hurt the team. And where is that line famously from? That's a Vrabelism, right? So there's no perfect coach. All of these coaches have things that they could do better or that they could stand to take from other people's games or styles. I think Callahan, there's a part of me that wants to say Pete Carroll, but Pete Carroll, I don't know. Maybe Pete Carroll didn't succeed early on, right? He was a failed Jets coach and a failed Patriots coach before he went on to USC, and then had great success with the Falcons, and is looking to do it now with the Raiders, which would be a hell of a turnaround because the Raiders are not an easy organization to salvage, as you all well know. So yeah, I bet if you looked at like some of these coaches' first go arounds, like successful coaches now who failed in their first opportunities, but ended up, some way or another getting a first time head job or another job in that spot, because there are far more retread coaches than there are general managers, for example. I think that you would probably look at that. Veneto says he coached the Seahawks. Yes, I'm aware he coached the Seahawks, but before that, he was the failed Jets coach and the failed Patriots coach, and then he went to USC, and then he went to the Seahawks. I don't know if you're just pointing out his most recent stop prior to the Raiders, but yeah, I mean, Pete Carroll had a long NFL coaching history prior to being the Seahawks head coach, and he had great success there. Obviously, Super Bowl champion. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. I'm not sure what's going to happen with Brian Callahan, but I don't think it's a good idea to pull the plug on him, even if this year doesn't go smoothly. And there's reason to expect that it wouldn't. All right, let's do a little. It says gone viral, but tonight is rising and falling. We aired in changing the graphic or not changing Oh, I said Falcons. Okay, thank you. Sorry. Falcons on the brain, given that I'm looking at my Falcons training camp credential here. So I apologize if I misspoke, if that was the correction that you were pointing out, Benetto. Thank you for making that clear to me, because my brain is rotting after after 10 days on the road. I'm so ready. Just like a football team, I'm sick and tired of sleeping in hotel rooms and doing this shit remotely. Ready to get back and get into normalcy. But it's good. It's good to work through adversity, even if my brain is slowly starting to fade. Or maybe I'm just stupid. It's entirely possible that I'm just getting dumber, and that's probably the more likely scenario. I don't think anything to do with the road trip is making me dumb. I think I'm just getting dumber generally. Anyway, rising and falling. Whose stock rose? Whose stock fell this week? In sports, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch in the comment section. If you would like to get involved, we would appreciate your participation. While you guys submit or give me your submissions, I will give you the people that made my trip to Atlanta possible. That's Two Rivers Ford, South's most trusted Ford dealer. They always get me to and fro. They have been doing that for Middle Tennesseans for over 40 years, and they can be counted on for award-winning customer service, quality American-made Ford vehicles, and 0% financing on your next vehicle. Now until September 2nd, Two Rivers Ford always goes above and beyond for you as the customer. That's why they are the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Online at tworiversford.com for more details. All right, whose stock rose, whose stock fell this week in sports? Default says loving the 90 seconds of media footage or whatever. Yeah, that was that dumb shit. Listen, the Falcons PR people were very nice to us this week, but their rules are stupid. They're and this is very much just a media complaint, but like there were maybe 8 of us from Titans media that came down here. Maybe not even that much. What, PK, me, Easton, Tehran, Suss, Gentry, Terry McCormick. I think that's it. So 7 media members who traveled for this, and like they couldn't find 7 parking spots, or even for us to carpool, like to get to the Falcons facility. We had to go to some off remote 2 miles down the road location, wait on shuttle buses that are also busing fans in to a Falcons training camp. And it's not like elitist, like, oh, don't put me on a fan bus type of thing, but like it was such a pain in the ass to get to and from the Falcons facility this week. That was dumb. And then their media rules are dumb. 90 seconds a day of video. I'll be honest, I did not abide by those rules today. I took a bunch of video and posted a bunch of video that was over my 90-second limit. So if the Falcons want to, get at me, I suppose they could revoke my game credential for Friday. But like, come on, like this just and they had a nice area for us once we finally got to the facility. But it's just like a lot of stock down Falcons PR generally. Now PK ripped their ass in person, which that's what Paul does. And I do love him for it, even if I would not have gone to that extreme. I was very dissatisfied. Darian says you got hazed by the Falcons organization. Yeah, it seems like we did, but I think they make their media do that too. If I was their media, I'd be shitty anyway. That's very, very inside baseball complaint. You guys don't care about that. But stock down also the Dallas Cowboys, because Jerry said the quiet part out loud today. And like, if you're a Cowboys fan, you're already in hell. And the last thing that you want to hear is that Jerry just stirs the pot anytime it gets too quiet around the Dallas Cowboys organization.
Well, I do believe if we're not being looked at, then I'll do my part to get us looked at. The beautiful thing for networks or, if you will, streaming companies is that the NFL is a 365-day-a-year interest factor. A lot of programming, you have to spend as much to make it, to promote it, as you do to make it. The Cowboys are a soap opera 365 days.
The streaming will begin
when it gets slow,
momentarily.
I'll stir it up.
Please take your seats.
And so it's wonderful to have the great athletes, have the great players. But there's something more there. There's sizzle, there's emotion, and if you will, there's controversy. That controversy is good stuff in terms of keeping and having people's attention.
I mean, I, you know, at least Jerry's honest, and like, I don't know if that makes it better or worse. If you're a Cowboys fan, it probably makes you worse or makes it worse. But like, I don't know. I keep not pleading, but like, I, I'm covering an organization that I don't know what direction they're going in because the owner doesn't want to be known or be like visible beyond like smile and wave boys stuff to you guys with Amy Adams Strunk. And I think that sucks, but whatever. It's her choice. Like I've never had a prolonged conversation with Amy. Like we've high and by very, very superficial type of stuff. Like Amy Adams stuff, Amy Adams Strunk knows who covers her team. Um, and she's done a sit down individually with Teresa Walker, and um, she's done sit downs the with the um Mike Keith at the time as a team employee for sure. But I I don't know. I don't know when, like at some point, is it good for her to just be in a background and for you to not know what she's thinking other than when she fires somebody? Or is it worse to have a situation like Jerry where he's just going to tell you straight up what's going on? And I believe him. I mean, there's no reason to not believe Jerry Jones in that circumstance. That's a really, really tough thing, though, for you to hear as Cowboys fans. Michael Wagner says, "Yeah, you're getting dumber, Buck. You forgot about Mike Keith." No, Bert texted me, and I looked at my phone, and then I got distracted what I was talking about. I'm also getting dumber. It's limiting my ability to multitask. So you're probably right, but no, I could never forget about Mike. Jerry, Jerry, it's just Jerry, Jerry, Jerry. What are you gonna do? And I mean, there he is, speaking truth to power. But I don't know if that's what Cowboys fans want to hear. I don't know what any fan base wants to hear, really, other than like, I'm going to do my best to put together a winning product and then try and get out of the way and let the smart football people handle it. That would be ideal. That would be the ideal ownership situation. But I don't know. He's in the middle of all of it all the time. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight. Radio show tomorrow. Nate Washington is going to be on the radio show tomorrow. We're excited about that. I'll be there for all 3 hours from Atlanta with Robert and Lucas back in studio. I'm also doing Doug Gottlieb's show nationally tomorrow. So if you have an itch to listen to me and Jason Fitz talk about the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants or all the other shit going on in the world, we will do that from 2 to 4 Central Time on Fox Sports Radio, and we'll enjoy doing that. And then we'll do one more primetime tomorrow night. And then I'm probably going to go to Magic City tomorrow night. I think that's in the cards. I've been dreaming, hoping, and wishing. Sometimes I Uber Eats from Magic City because it's a legit restaurant, but you know, I don't think it would kill me to go in person. It's been a little while. No posting though on social media, obviously. We'll see. That's going to do it for us tonight. Have a great rest of your evening. Radio show tomorrow, 10 to 1 on 104.5 The Zone.
There's a very low percentage of this that is smiles and glory holes. Very low percentage.